Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And working backwards through the alphabet, we've arrived at the letter H and Gustav Holst. Yeah, his name was Gustav. He was British, not Gustav. He wasn't German. He wasn't Deutsch. Anyway, so we've got lots of Holsts. Well, we have about 2 videos worth of Holst here in the Overflow room. There's a lot more upstairs, like the big Holst box and all this other stuff. And so much of this material was duplicated, but what the heck? First, we have, oh look, The Planets, 20th Century Classics on Seraphim. 2 CDs worth of stuff. So we've got Ionescu's Romanian Rhapsody #1, Khachaturian's Guyana Suite number 1, Prokofiev's The Love for Three Oranges Suite. Now, these are all of the Vienna Phil and Konstantin Silvestri. You know, back in the days before the big Silvestri box finally showed up from EMI, which is now way out of print, but on Icon or whatever it was, we only knew him for these little things that turned up in collections and compilations issued cheapy. And he was wonderful, and people listened to this stuff and went, wow, he's great. Where's the rest of it? Well, you know, we finally got the rest of it. But back in the day, he was not well known at all. And then we've got The Rite of Spring with the New Philharmonia and Rafael Frubeck de Burgos. This is a good Rite of Spring. It's exciting and it's powerful. Kodai's Hariano Suite with Rudolf Kempe in the Vienna Phil. And The Planets, finally. That was the Holst thing. That's why I put it here. With the BBC Symphony and Malcolm Sargent, of all people. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad. So that was fun. I mean, it's a wonderful collection of things. And here's another collection. Walter Susskind and the St. Louis Symphony. The Planets and Ma Vlast. 2 pieces that have absolutely no reason to be coupled together, except that Walter Susskind did both. And it's a very good Ma Vlast, and it's a very good Planets. The Planets has a little extra tam-tam at the end of Mars, which is kind of fun, actually. But it's wonderful. It's a good orchestra. It's always a good orchestra. Susskind trained them well, and he was succeeded, of course, by Leonard Slatkin, who also did some rather good stuff with them, you know? So this was on Vox. These were very good sounding recordings, weren't they? These were all Mark Oborton and Joanna Nikrentz elite recordings. They were wonderful sounding recordings. And I enjoyed this when I was a kid. When I was first collecting records, I had these 2 recordings on Seraphim, and they were really, no, they're on Vox, I'm sorry. Vox Box. They were Vox Box on CDs. But I had them on Vox because they were really inexpensive. And that was a wonderful thing. It really was. The fact that they were so cheap and really good. I mean, the pressing sucked. That was an issue. But the performances were really pretty superior. And they still sound awfully good to me now. Then we've got, oh, look, Ormandy and Philly doing The Planets, Vaughan Williams' Tallis Fantasia, and the Fantasia on Greensleeves. Now, the Vaughan Williams items were done better in Ormandy's first recordings for Sony. These are the RCA remakes. The Planets was new to RCA, and it's a good performance. It's very, very well played. It's a little bit, I think, on the stodgy side. Just a little. It could have a little bit more swing to the rhythm, but it's awfully well played. And if I am not mistaken, I am not mistaken, the liner notes are by me. Yes, this was part of that horror show of an experience I had with the Basic 100 series, which was absolutely an insane idea. But I got these. And also at the back, if you'd like to know even more about the world of the classics, we recommend either of these 2 books, Beethoven or Bust by David Hurwitz, and another one, which I'm not going to mention because it wasn't good as mine, frankly. But that's okay. Actually, it's The Joy of Classical Music by Joan Kennedy, the very controversial Leonard Bernstein biographer, you may recall. Oh gosh, those were the days. My, what year did this come out? 1993 is when I was working on that. So 25 33 years ago, right? It's 26 plus, yeah, a while ago when I was just a kid. Oh boy. So there we go. That was the Ormandy one. And then we've got, Andrew Litton and the Dallas Symphony, a 2 CD set where you got Also Sprach Zarathustra and the Planets on Delos. These were really good sounding records, a little low level, but if you crank them up, they were great. The performances are terrific. I mean, Litton was marvelous in this stuff. He had the Dallas Symphony playing at peak form, and he did some Mahler and like some other stuff like that, and they sounded great, and they still do. I mean, I'm glad I hung on to these things. There's so much of it. But we're going to take a break from Planets for a moment and switch to The Wandering Scholar, the little one-act, little 25-minute long opera thingy, and the Suite de Ballet and A Song of the Night with Leslie Harfield by violin. It's an 8-minute little extravaganza for violin and orchestra. And the Suite de Ballet, which is really early Holst, it's his opus 10. It has a danse rustique, a valse, a scene de nuit, and a carnival. Lovely. And The Wandering Scholar is very nicely done with Ingrid Ottrodt, Neil Archer, Alan Opie, and Donald Maxwell. The Northern Sinfonia and Richard Hickox on Chandos. This was one of those things you used to fill out your Holst collection. See, the trouble with Holst as a composer is that he almost never repeated himself. Everything he did was kind of sui generis, so it's very hard to find, to wrap your brain about everything that he did, and much of it doesn't couple well with anything else. You know, you use these little bits here and there occasionally. I mean, and they're masterpieces liberally sprinkled among his output. He was a fabulous composer. But, let's get back to some Planets, shall we? Ugh. Berlin Phil, Karajan on Deutsche Grammophon. Now, as you know, Deutsche Grammophon, Karajan in Vienna did a fabulous recording of the Planets. Absolutely one of the reference recordings. It's marvelous and beautifully recorded by Decca. This remake was not as good. It is not as well played. Rhythmically, it's a little bit more slack. It was originally issued in a terribly glassy digital set recording. I mean, Karajan's early digitals were just awful, largely because he mixed his own recordings, or he was, and he couldn't hear high frequencies. They were screechy, and it was all a mess. In the Karajan Gold edition, which is here, they cleaned up the sound quite a bit. It's a little bit better. But still, as a performance, it's not a patch on his first one. It just isn't. Then we've got, Neville Mariner and the Concertgebouw doing the Planets. This is a lot of fun. It's surprisingly good. It has a very, very extravagant use of the tam-tam and Mars, which really surprised me because the Concertgebouw never really had a good sounding one. There is a cymbal crash missing in Jupiter right before the big tune comes in. Da 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 da. Cymbal. Bum bum ba da 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 da. Well, that's missing. I mean, there's a couple other little, sort of curious things going on. But it's so good to hear this orchestra play it. And Mariner conducts it really, really positively. I mean, he's not bland, he's not boring. Of course, the orchestra isn't, so that helps. But this was on Philips, and this particular one was reissued on Rose Records. Rose Records, as you know, was the big classical store in Chicago. And they licensed stuff at one point from Universal because this went out of print in like 35 seconds. So that's nice to have. Then we've got Up the Planets. What a novelty. With Adrian Boult coupled with the Enigma variations on great recordings of the century. I mean, Boult conducted the premiere. Boult knew Holst. Holst knew Boult. They got along. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. The Enigma isn't as interesting as some others. It's good. I mean, of course it's good. There's some sort of honky organ sound at the very end of it, but it's very good. But the Holst is just terrific, from 1966, I believe, and it sounds absolutely marvelous. Unless this is the 1979 one. Wait a minute. Oh, it is. It's the 79 one. It's Boult's last recording of it, and even more splendiferous sound. It's also not quite as disciplined as the 66 one, but it's still, because it's with the London Symphony and the London Philharmonic. Yeah, okay. But it's really, really good. So not complaining. Then we've got, oh, look, the planets with Elgar's Pomp and Circumstance Military March number 1. We have Leonard Bernstein in the New York Philharmonic with on Sony. It's okay. It's not one of Bernstein's better efforts. And there's a very funny story behind it, which I've told before, but it sort of belongs here as well. I had a friend who worked for Sony. His name was Pierre Bourdain. He was a really good guy. He wound up running Orpheus Remarkable Recordings on Lexington Avenue, along with Remy Farkas, who was the Decca producer, and the brother-in-law of Giuseppe Di Stefano. Anyway, Pierre was also a friend of mine, and he was really, really a good guy. And he told me this story about, we were talking about planets and Bernstein's, and he said, oh, well, he had suggested to Bernstein that they do the planets and record it because Bernstein was looking for things to do, and he hadn't done it before. And Bernstein didn't really know the work very well. And if you don't know the work very well, it's very tricky rhythmically. The whole piece is a rhythmic study. You know, it's in funny meters and they're compound meters, and it's really difficult. So Bernstein programmed it before he made the recording. He programmed it first. And from what Pierre tells me, because he was there, the live recording was just the live performance was just a mess. I mean, the orchestra was all over the place, and Bernstein was like tearing his hair out. And Pierre went back to the green room afterwards, and Bernstein walked up to him and said, "You son of a bitch, you didn't tell me it." Anyway, he made the recording. They cleaned all that up. They really did. But it's just not the most compelling performance of the planets. And with that delightful little tale, we wrap up this first installment in Random Reviews from the Overflow Room, Holst edition number 1. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.